We start with Mom, who is trying to take her 2 kids to a safety zone, because nothing says safety like a woman walking through a literal apocalypse with a toddler and a girl who clearly skipped Intro to Survival. Naturally, a zombie lunges out of the shadows. Little Abigail, instead of running or, helping, decides the best tactical move is to scramble under a car and watch her family become a buffet. Truly, a cinematic masterpiece of cowardice. She watches helplessly as Mom gets devoured and her brother gets taken down. Honestly, the brother's survival instincts were about as sharp as a marshmallow. A passing police siren, because apparently the cops are still patrolling during the end of the world, pulls the zombie away. Mom is lying in a pool of blood, and the brother is barely breathing. Abigail considers crawling out, probably to ask for her allowance, but then Mom's body starts doing the zombie stanky leg. She rises and lunges straight at her own son, while calling out Abigail's name. Abigail, who apparently has the lung capacity of a foghorn, makes a noise. Mom snaps and charges at her like she's a Black Friday deal at Walmart. Enter the cop with a savior complex. Just in time, a man named Cassius appears. He's a former cop, because of course he is. He pulls Abigail out of danger, tells her to cover her ears, and puts her brother out of his misery. From that moment on, Abigail follows Cassius because, let's be real, her survival rate on her own was hovering at about 0%. 10 years pass in the blink of an eye. The city is a wreck, zombies are everywhere, and Abigail is all grown up. She and Cassius are basically the Road, but with better hair. Under Cassius's tough training, Abigail is now seriously capable, which I assume means she finally learned how to not hide under cars. The Midnight Furry incident. One night, a perimeter alarm jolts Cassius awake. He finds a tuft of animal fur. Oh no, a squirrel. But wait, there's rustling. Cassius ducks behind a horse, hope the horse is bulletproof, and chambers around. A zombie emerges, Cassius fires, and it's lights out. But wait. A heavy feeling settles over them. Zombies travel in packs, they realize, 10 years into the apocalypse. They decide to move. On the road, they hear gunshots. Because when you're low on supplies and trying to survive, you definitely want to ride toward the sounds of death. The world's worst aim. They find a group being overrun. Abigail tries to be a hero and take a shot, but instead of hitting the zombie, she hits a human man. Great job, Abigail. 10 years of training and you're still more dangerous to your allies than the undead. Cassius has to jump in and finish the job, then gives the poor guy a merciful end after he gets bitten. The fashion police of the apocalypse. Then we get to the real tragedy. The shoes. Cassius looks at the dead man and thinks, hey, those are some nice kicks. He's barely laced them up when the dead man's crew rolls up in SUVs. They find Cassius's old shoes as evidence. Now they think Cassius and Abigail are scavengers. Tension spikes. Both sides are ready to draw. Abigail strikes back, and just as we're headed for a Mexican standoff, a wave of shrieking erupts from the hillside. A zombie horde floods in like a tsunami. Running isn't an option. It's time for everyone to hold their ground and realize that fighting over second-hand sneakers was probably a bad move. The chaos hits a fever pitch. Amidst the sea of rotting faces, a female zombie stands out, shrieking like she's the lead singer of a heavy metal band. She's basically a zombie general, directing the horde. While Cassius and Abigail are busy playing Fruit Ninja with zombie limbs, everyone else is basically a walking snack. One big guy gets bitten and tries to take the easy way out, but his magazine is as empty as the plot of a B-movie. Then we meet the Alpha. This guy isn't your average brain-dead shuffler. He's got intelligence in his eyes, which in this movie makes him a literal genius compared to the humans. Realizing that staying is a one-way ticket to becoming a buffet, Abigail, David, and his pregnant wife Megan jump into an SUV. Cassius fights his way back, floors it, and they blast through the encirclement. The Alpha looks at his fallen female zombie friend, lets out a roar, and officially adds our group to his to-do list. The baby on board and the car that bored. Inside the getaway car, Megan explains they're heading to King's Harbour, a floating settlement. It's on water, so apparently these zombies haven't unlocked the swimming DLC yet. Naturally, the car breaks down halfway because why would anything go right? They ditch the ride and head into Abigail's hometown. It's depressing, empty, and perfect for a mid-apocalypse mental breakdown. Abigail is all starry-eyed about living among people again, but Cassius isn't buying it. He knows that in this world, more people just means more targets. They have a massive fight about it because nothing screams safety like screaming at each other in a zombie-infested city during a rainstorm. Grudges and childhood traumas. The Alpha isn't over it. He tracks their scent all the way to the abandoned car. This isn't just a hunger thing anymore. It's personal. The next morning, Abigail is keeping watch when she hears a shriek. She spots a zombie and, in a rare moment of actual competence, takes it down with her blade. But the noise draws the rest of the neighborhood. In the ensuing rooftop parkour, Abigail almost falls to her death. Classic Abigail, but Cassius saves her. The horde floods the building. The Alpha sends a scout ahead, but Cassius has been busy setting traps. One landmine later, and we have zombie confetti. The DIY flight school. Megan is slowing everyone down because, being 8 months pregnant in a sprint isn't ideal. Abigail then has a eureka moment. Her dad used to bring her here to fly model planes. There's a civilian airport nearby. They find a car with a dead guy inside, steal his wheelchair for Megan, and hustle to the airport. It's a wreck, but Abigail digs through her memories and finds her dad's old hangar. Inside? A plane that hasn't moved in a decade. Luckily, David is a mechanic. Of course he is, and gets to work. While they're waiting, the horde shows up. Abigail jumps into the cockpit and starts copying what she remembers her dad doing. Cassius is outside playing tower defense with his rifle. The zombies are sprinting like they're training for the 2028 Olympics. Finally, the engine roars to life. Abigail hits the runway, the plane lifts off, and for a second they think they've won. Then a zombie hitches a ride on the cabin door. Cassius gives him the 1-2 punch and shoot combo, and they're finally airborne. Down below, the Alpha is staring up, probably wondering why he didn't learn how to fly a plane in his past life. Just when everyone thinks they're flying first class to safety, the plane starts coughing black smoke like it's been on a 40-pack-a-day habit. The nose dips and they crash into a forest. Miraculously, they survive with just a few scrapes. Physics? Never heard of her. They find an abandoned train station to rest. But wait, there's trouble in paradise. David slips away to have a private, end-of-life moment with a pistol because, surprise, he's been bitten. He can't pull the trigger though, so he decides to hide his infection behind a pair of sunglasses, because nothing says I'm not a zombie like wearing shades indoors at night. Cassius, having actually used his eyes for once, pins David down and confirms he's turning. But before they can settle it, they find a house with the lights on. They meet Norton, a PhD in engineering, who is definitely not a serial killer. He feeds them, gives them drinks, and then drops the bomb. Zombies are the next stage of human evolution. Translation: I've lost my mind, and probably my Netflix subscription. The wrist glove of doom. Norton drugs their drinks because hospitality is dead. When they wake up, they're in a basement. Norton has built a sonic glove to control zombies, and he wants to use the horde to take over the world. He releases his zombie wife to eat them, but David, powered by the virus and the sheer dad energy of wanting to protect his wife, snaps his chains and takes her out. Megan's water breaks, great timing as always, and they floor it out of there in a stolen car. The Alpha is waiting on the road like a vengeful ex-boyfriend. David stays behind for a final stand, taking one last drag of a cigarette before the Alpha snaps his neck. Rip David, the only guy who actually knew how to fix a radiator. King's Harbour, the floating tinderbox. They finally reach King's Harbour. It's on the water, so it's safe. Megan delivers her baby, tells Cassius, "You're the daddy now, spiritually speaking," and dies. Abigail is loving life, making friends with a guy named Roderick, who casually mentions that the entire settlement is rigged with enough explosives to level a small country. Safety first, but Norton isn't done. He uses his sonic glove to command the Alpha to lead the horde onto boats. Yes, zombies on boats. The settlement becomes a buffet in record time. Cassius hands the baby to a random doctor and goes on a rampage. The twist. Nobody everybody saw coming. In the chaos, Cassius smashes Norton's sonic glove. Without his remote control, the zombies remember that Norton looks like a snack and tear him apart. Sweet, sweet irony. As Cassius and Abigail head for the escape tunnel, the Alpha blocks their path. Abigail sees a bracelet on the Alpha's wrist, the same one her father wore. Plot twist. The Alpha is her dad. 10 years of surviving, and he's evolved into the CEO of zombies. Roderick hits the detonator and King's Harbor goes boom. But the Alpha survives the blast because he's got that main antagonist plot armor. He tackles Cassius and tries to bite his wrist, but Abigail finally stops being little Abigail and puts a bullet in her dad's head. The good news, Cassius was wearing a wrist guard. No infection. The bad news, everyone they knew is dead, and the floating city is a charcoal grill. Cassius decides to lead the survivors to a remote island to start over. And that female zombie he shot earlier, if you haven't guessed by now, she was probably the mother who got devoured in the first scene. Talk about a dysfunctional family reunion. And that, my people, is how you turn a family tragedy into a 10-year grudge match. If you think Abigail's dad was the ultimate deadbeat parent, or if you're just glad Cassius remembered his wrist guards, do the right thing. Link up with the movement and hit that subscribe button right now. We're growing the Chroniclers family every single day, and I need you in the comments letting me know, was Norton a genius or just a man who needed a hobby? Big up to everyone who watched to the end. Share the video, ring the bell so you never miss a recap, and as always, stay sharp, stay safe, and stay irie. I'm out.